What's going on, everybody? It is D-Man coming back at it again with another YouTube video, and today we're going to do a recap on the Tennessee Titans Chicago Bears game. We had a chance to go perfect in the preseason for the first time since 2003. Couldn't get it done, but in my opinion, the Titans were the better team tonight. Excuse me, not tonight. I'm going to do this thing tomorrow. So, this will be on Sunday. I believe you guys are seeing this. So, anyway, I felt like the Titans were a better team in this game. It felt like the Tennessee Titans had a lot of control. Pretty much, they had control throughout the entire game. Just some timely turnovers, that did cost us, especially the pick six. And that really kind of flipped things. I think we went down 21-10, came back, took the lead 24-21, or was it 24-20, and then the Bears scored that touchdown. What a game from we'll see him in a minute, from the Bears tight end. He had 3 touchdowns tonight. I'm gonna keep saying tonight, but you get what I'm saying. But we'll check out, like I said, it felt like the Titans had as much control as you could have. I mean, the yards show it here. We had more passing yards, a lot more rushing yards, and total yards. We had a lot more total yards than the Bears. We see the time of possession. Bears only had the ball for 21 minutes. Titans had the ball for 38 minutes. And yet we still lose. Defense kind of took a step back tonight. Again, we saw the defense hold both the Atlanta Falcons and Tampa Bay Buccaneers to only 3 points. We gave up our first touchdown of the preseason in this game, so kind of unfortunate there. Both quarterbacks for the Titans. Logan Woodside, in my opinion, had a better game than Matt Barkley. Logan Woodside's pick, they both had a pick. But Logan Woodside's pick was because the offensive line, and he got hit, and the ball came out, and pretty much it was a not deflected ball, but he was hit when he was thrown, and the ball just went straight to the Bears defensive back's hands. He ran it in pretty easily for a touchdown. So in my opinion, that wasn't Logan Woodside's fault. And I still think Logan Woodside had a pretty solid game. He made plays when he was asked to do so. Matt Barkley, on the other hand, his pick was definitely his fault. Just a bad ball thrown into, I don't know what he was throwing it to, but there's like 3 Bears there, 1 Titan, and just bad. Just a bad throw. And Matt Barkley overall this game wasn't too good. I think Woodside outplayed him 1,000%. But that's my take on the quarterbacks tonight. We'll get into the running backs now. I might touch on the Bears a little bit too. Justin Fields, we saw him come out, I think, in the first half. He barely got any chance on offense in the first half because, like I said, the time of possession, we held the ball for so long in that pick six. Titans had long drives, and then the pick six happened, then we had another long drive. So Justin Fields really, he saw the field a little bit, but not as much as maybe the Bears fans wanted. But he was in there for the first half. Nick Foles came in for the second half and played pretty solid. But let's move on here. Rushing, Brian Hill, kind of slow start for him, but he kind of picked it up later in the game. A couple of explosive runs, I would say, later on in the game. And no touchdowns for him, but he did have a pretty decent impact on the game later on. Holes started opening up for him. We saw him early on not do well at all. I remember one possession where we were backed up in our own end zone, and he just couldn't find a crease at all. Ran it one time, got stuffed at the line of scrimmage. Ran it another time, he tackled for a loss of 2. But then finally, things started picking up for him. He had a solid game, 14 carries for 63 yards. Solid game for him. Scott, I don't think, in my opinion, I don't think he's going to be making the roster until he had that decent spark at the end there. But I just don't know if he's going to make the roster with this guy right here, Mekhi Sargent. Just, again, another great game from him. It seems that he is just always coming in, and he's going to give you, at least 3, 4, 5 yards every single carry. And we'll talk about another running back that I really liked that just came in the other day. But Mekhi Sargent, he has continued to play really great. Coming off that game last week, he continued to play well. He had a touchdown. I think that was like one of the first touchdowns of the game. I think it was the first touchdown of the game, actually. And throughout the game, 17 carries, 51 yards. He had a really, really good game. In my opinion, he was probably the best running back, maybe besides Brian Hill. Brian Hill still had a great game, but Mekhi Sargent's been consistent. He's just been as consistent as you can be. And that's what you want out of your running backs. Javion Hawkins, another guy that we had just picked up. They were joking. John Robinson actually joined Charles Davis and the other guy in the booth. They were joking how Javion Hawkins had like 5 meals with the Tennessee Titans, and he's out there, I'd say, balling. 10 carries for 49 yards. That's pretty solid. That's about 5 yards a carry. You got to think about it, too. He's really, really fast. He had a touchdown as well. Kid played really, really good. Just really, really fast. And the way he hits in the, he just looks really explosive, guys. He looked really explosive. It's going to be interesting to see how they handle him. But the interesting thing about this is that going into Tuesday, I believe, was the deadline for the 53-man roster. The Titans, they were talking about it in the booth. J-Rob was in there too, talking about how the Titans, their roster is so good that the players that they cut will get picked up by another team. And that's a good problem to have. It's just bad because you hate to see these guys that we have right now that are really, really solid, but we just have more players that are better, than some of the other guys. So you hate to see some players get cut, but for the most part, most of these guys that get cut are probably going to find a roster spot elsewhere on another team, just because. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing because that means we've built up a really, really solid roster. And if it's hard for you to cut guys at the end of preseason, then you've done something right. I'll leave it at that. But yeah, in my opinion, that's a good problem to have. Logan Woodside, he had one rush. He looked pretty on the scramble. I can't remember if that was like third quarter-ish, but I do remember it was like third down, I want to say. I think it was third down, and he fought for it. It was like third and 10, third and 11, something like that. And I remember he spun, got the first down. It looked really, really fast too while doing it. So he's not just a guy that's gonna stand in the pocket. He can get outside the pocket and make a play, and he did that there. Carter Blossom game. He had a nice little catch and run. We'll get into that right here actually. So again, he's our starting fullback. Don't want him in there too much, but times he was in there, he went for a screen pass. He took it for 50 yards. Almost scored a touchdown on the play. Nice little play call there, and took it, I think, around the 5-yard line, and we eventually were able to score, I think, that drive. But that was a nice little play by Carter Blossom game. But in my opinion, he shouldn't have been in the game at that point in time. But nice to see him playing. I don't want to get him injured. He's a big piece of the puzzle for us to make a run this year, in my opinion, because we utilize our fullback, and that's something that not many other teams do. You see the 49ers do it, but not many other teams utilize a fullback. Some teams don't even have a fullback on their team. So a very important piece for us there. But he played pretty solid at that one screen pass, taking it away. Getting to the next guy, Cameron Batson. I think that if I were to give out MVPs to the game offensively and defensively, he'd probably take my offensive MVP, just because there was not a guy that really, really stood out. And I didn't know who I was going to pick for my MVP until later on in the game where Cam Batson made the catch. Kind of back shoulder, Cam Batson adjusted to the ball. Kind of a similar play. I think Charles Davis said to the Falcons game to open up that game. We had a little fade. Cam Batson adjusted to the ball, made the catch. Kind of a similar play to last year that I recall against the Browns, where Cam Batson had similar play, back shoulder, and he made an adjustment, made the catch, and he made another one here late in the game. I think this one was to make it 17-21, or maybe this one was a score to put us up. Nonetheless, it was a great catch, and if I were to give someone an MVP, I would probably give it to Cam Batson. He had 4 targets, caught all 4 of them. He had 45 yards and a touchdown. And if you look at everyone else, not many other guys stood out. Dez Fitzpatrick, 1 catch, 28 yards. Mason Kinsey, 4 catches, 24 yards. Not a bad game from Mason Kinsey, but it's going to be really, really hard. J-Rob was talking about the wide receivers when he was asked what's going to be the hardest position to cut. He first mentioned the wide receivers, because it's going to be very tough to figure out who to cut, and the guys that he's going to cut are going to get picked up because they're really good players. We saw Mason Kinsey, 4 catches, 24 yards. Brian Hill have a couple catches today as well. Miller Forrestall had a catch for 16 yards. Fred Brown, a catch for 14 yards. Javian Hawkins, a catch for 7. Marcus Johnson, 6. Mekhi Sargent, 6. Tommy Hudson had a catch for 5 yards. That's it. It's going to be very interesting to see how that receiving, the receiver roster, how that's going to go. But I just want to mention this guy, the Horsted, played phenomenal. I was like, this dude has 3 touchdowns, and then the announcer said he only had 2, and I was like, I swear he has 3, and then later he corrected himself. I knew this dude had 3 because I remember all 3 of them. I remember the first one. One of them was insane. 2 of them were actually insane. The first one was a pass, kind of like a short little stick slant route. No, that was actually I think that was his second. His first one was Justin Fields. Yeah, this was his first one. The first one was Justin Fields. Got outside the pocket. I don't know where he was supposed to put this ball, but he put it exactly where it was supposed to be. Horsted made a fantastic catch. There was about 2 Titans draped all over him, and he made the catch. Got his toes in. Really, really phenomenal catch. I was like, how in the world was that ball fit in there? And he made the catch. And then, I believe later in the game, it was when Nick Foles was in. It was like a little slant stick route, and he just made the catch. They were like at a 4-3 yard line, something like that. Pretty simple pass and catch there. But the last one really put the icing on the cake for the Bears. It was a one-handed snag, and no one could chase him down. The pass was a little high. Made the adjustment with one hand, went up with the left hand, snagged it, came back down and outran everyone to the end zone. He had his finger up at like the 30-yard line. He knew he was going all the way. Kid played great. If you're a Madden fan watching this, I wouldn't be surprised if this dude gets some sort of Team of the Week card, if they do any sort of Team of the Week for the preseason, because this dude just had a hell of a game. 5 targets, 5 catches for 104 yards with 3 touchdowns. If this was in fantasy, he had 28 fantasy points. So, what a game from him. That was definitely the best player on the field, offensively and defensively. But moving on, I don't know if this shows the defense, but you really don't want to see what the defense was looking like. I kind of want to see the defense a little bit. But really, for the most part, the defense... Oh, yeah, here we go, right here. The defense didn't play like we were used to seeing. We gave up 27 points, but obviously 7 was off of a pick 6. But take that away, still gave up 20 points. Elijah Molden still had a solid game. Just not like a... no one stood out on defense. That's what I'm trying to say here. No one really stood out on defense. you know, just there's no one to really just wow, what you know, just nothing like that. We have any sacks? We had yeah, early in the game, Ola and Aaron Roberson came in on the sack, but that's the only sack of the game. Or we have another one. Maybe they just gave that to him as well. But like I said, no one really stood out defensively. There's the numbers there. You know, Elijah Molden had 3 tackles, but other than that, it's really nothing. So I mean, nothing really to talk about defensively, but offensively, there were a couple of guys that stood out to me. If I were to give the defensive MVP out, it would be to no one, because no one really deserved it. No one stood out. No one made any plays. There was no interceptions, I don't recall. No, there was maybe 1 or 2 sacks, but that's it. That was it. Defense, in my opinion, definitely this was the worst game by far. And yeah, it was just hard to watch defensively. Hopefully that's not like. Honestly, early on when we had our starters out there, we looked fine, but we were going against a Bears, you know, second, third team guys. So hopefully this is not something that, you know, another thing like history repeats itself this season. Our defense is just as bad. But early on, we had Jayon Brown, Rashaan Evans out there. They were making tackles. Jeffrey Simmons was making tackles as well. We did see Taylor Lewan and Roger Saffold out there for the first time. Saffold had a false start. Just got to shake off the rust a little bit there. It's good to see them back out there because they do need, you know, some reps before they just get thrown out there for first game of the year against the Cardinals. They do need to get about, you know, a couple snaps out there, a couple reps. Lewan's a freaking character, man. You gotta love Lewan. You know, he'll find the camera. And I remember one play where Mekhi Becton bounced it to the outside. Taylor Lewan had a pretty nice block on the edge to spring Mekhi. Sorry, did I say Mekhi Becton? Mekhi Sargent. When he had a nice little gain to the outside, maybe 9-yard gain or something, and Lewan was dapping up teammates on the sideline after he had just blocked the dude. So, you know, you just gotta love Lewan. Good to see him back out there. Same with Saffold. But for the most part, defensively, not too good for the Titans. Offensively, there are a couple guys that did stand out. For the most part, I'd say Cam Batson was probably the best player for the Titans today. So yeah. With that being said, that is going to do it for the video. Hopefully you guys did enjoy. Until next time, I'll see y'all.